Ever wonder what it really takes to get someone out of a wrecked car? I mean, safely, obviously.
Yeah, there's way more to it than just bending some metal like you see
Thought
in the
so.
movies.
For sure. So, today we're doing a deep dive into vehicle extrication.
Right. And we've got some really interesting sources to pull from, real EMT training manuals, case studies, the real deal.
Yeah, stuff that'll give you the inside scoop on how it all works.
Exactly, a real behind-the-scenes look.
Right.
We're going to be uncovering some pretty surprising stuff. Like, did you know those vehicle safety features we all rely on?
Oh, yeah, the airbags and all that.
Yeah, well, they can actually pose some serious risks to the rescuers themselves.
Really? I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And we're going to talk about all the meticulous steps EMTs have to take before they can even reach a patient.
So it's not just about rushing and they're all guns blazing.
No, not at all. Well, our sources really emphasize that the number one priority for EMTs is safety.
That makes sense, I guess. You don't want more people getting hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not just for the patient, for everyone on the scene. Even something like a compressed bumper after a collision.
Oh, right, because it's all bent out of shape.
It's not just bent metal.
Yeah.
It's basically a giant spring loaded with potential energy.
Wow, I never thought of it like that.
One wrong move, and that thing could release with crazy force and seriously injure a rescuer.
So even before they start thinking about patient care, they have to be super careful about their own safety.
Absolutely. There's this constant awareness of the dangers. It's a delicate balance between urgency and caution.
Right, because you got to get to the person quickly, but you don't want to make things worse.
Exactly. And then on top of all that, you've got the vehicle safety systems themselves to worry about.
I always thought airbags were pretty straightforward, I guess.
Well, you got to remember they can go off unexpectedly, even after the initial impact.
Oh, wow. So someone could be approaching the car and...
And bam,
Mhm.
airbag right in their face.
That's...
Yeah, it's why EMTs have to keep their distance and be aware that those things could deploy at any time.
So it's like those safety features have a mind of their own. Speaking of airbags, have you ever noticed that white haze inside a car after they go off?
Yeah, yeah. People think it's smoke,
Right, that's what I always thought.
but it's not. It's actually cornstarch or sometimes talcum powder.
Wait, really? Cornstarch, what's that doing in there?
It's there to reduce friction, believe it or not.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it helps prevent the airbag from sticking together inside, ensures it deploys smoothly.
If it's actually a good thing.
It is. It's clever engineering.
Yeah.
But it does mean EMTs got to protect their eyes and lungs from all that
Oh,
dust.
right, of course. So even those seemingly little details can affect how they approach a crash.
Absolutely. They're constantly gathering information, assessing the situation, like detectives.
Detectives.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. I mean, our sources actually break down extrication into 10 distinct phases.
10. Yeah.
And scene size up, that's the first one, is absolutely critical.
Makes sense. Got to get a handle on what you're dealing with.
It's like a full 360-degree assessment, looking for anything that could pose a danger.
So like downed power lines.
Yep. Leaking fluids, fire risks, you name it.
So many things to think about.
They also look at the vehicle itself. How badly is it damaged? Where are the impacts? That sort of thing.
Oh, right, to figure out where the patient might be injured.
Exactly. Like if the steering wheel's all bent out of shape, it can mean face or chest trauma.
Wow. And if there are like imprints on the dashboard?
Could mean lower extremity injuries. They're putting together a picture of the potential injuries even before they can see the patient.
That's incredible. So they can anticipate what kind of care they might need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the details. They want to get that person out safely and minimize any further injuries.
And that starts with a thorough understanding of the scene.
Absolutely. It's like putting together a puzzle. Each piece of information helps them see the bigger picture.
Right, right. Okay, so after they've assessed the scene and identified all the potential hazards,
Then they have to figure out how to actually get to the patient.
which I'm guessing isn't always as simple as just opening a door.
Nope. Our sources talk about two types of access, simple and complex.
So simple access is like if a door's still working.
Yeah, or rolling down a window.
Hmm.
But a lot of times, it's way more complicated than that.
Right, because the car could be totally mangled.
Exactly. That's when you get into complex access,
Mhm.
using special tools to cut through metal, remove debris, all that.
And they have to do all that without hurting the person inside.
Right. It takes a ton of skill and precision. They got to be careful, but they got to be quick, too.
I've heard about something called rapid extrication.
Yeah. That's when the patient is in really bad shape and times is of the essence.
That's intense.
It is. A good team can get someone out of a car in under a minute.
A minute. That's crazy.
It's a carefully choreographed process.
Hmm.
Everyone knows exactly what they're doing.
I bet. So once they finally get to the patient, what happens next?
Then it's all about providing that initial emergency care, stabilizing the spine,
Yeah.
giving them oxygen, controlling any bleeding.
But all while they're still trapped in the car.
A lot of times, yeah. Which makes it 1,000 times harder.
Yeah, no kidding.
They have to be able to adapt, think on their feet. It's like setting up a mini ER right there in the wreckage.
That's a wild image. And after the initial care,
Then comes the removal and
it's
transferring.
getting them onto a stretcher.
Right. And that takes a lot of coordination. Smooth, controlled movements so they don't make the injuries worse.
So it's a balance between speed and safety.
Absolutely. Always prioritizing the patient's well-being.
Okay, so we've been talking about your kind of typical car crash.
Right.
But what about those situations that are even more complicated?
Yeah, you're talking about specialized rescue situations. Those are a whole other ballgame.
Like, I always think about those trench collapses. Those are terrifying.
Yeah, no kidding. Super dangerous.
Just thinking about all that dirt.
And the weight of it. Did you know dirt weighs like 100 pounds per cubic foot?
100 pounds. Jeez.
So even a small collapse can trap someone with insane force.
And then there's always the risk of another collapse, right?
Exactly. It's a very real danger. So those rescuers have to be extra careful.
So in those situations, it's not just about getting someone out of a car.
It's about understanding the specific challenges of each environment and using different techniques.
It's a whole other level of extrication.
It is. And then, of course, you've got all the new technology in vehicles these days.
Right, like electric cars and hybrids.
Exactly. They present a whole new set of challenges.
I can imagine.
Like, for one thing, you can't always tell where the battery is.
Oh, right, because it's not always under the hood anymore.
Nope. Could be in the trunk, under the seats, you never know.
So you have to be really careful not to, like, cut into a high voltage battery.
You got it. And disconnecting those batteries is crucial, but it's not as simple as it sounds.
How so?
Well, hybrid batteries, for example, they can take up to 10 minutes to de-energize completely.
10 minutes? Why so long?
Higher voltage.
Yeah.
Much higher than a regular car battery. So there's a lot more juice in those things.
Wow, so it's not just about cutting the power, you have to know how to handle those batteries safely.
That's right. And it just shows how extrication is always evolving.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it, all the things those rescuers have to know.
It is. And in the next part, we're going to dig deeper into something else that's crucial for successful extrication.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Teamwork.
Yeah, of course. You can't do any of this alone.
Nope, it takes a village.
So, teamwork. It makes sense that you need a lot of that in extrication.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've got all these different people on the scene, right?
EMTs, firefighters.
Police officers, maybe even specialized rescue teams, depending on the situation.
Yeah, it sounds kind of chaotic.
It can be, but there's a system in place to manage all that.
Oh.
It's called the Incident Command System, ICS for short. And what does that do?
Basically, it's a standardized way to manage emergencies.
So everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Clear lines of communication, authority, all that.
So even in the middle of all the chaos, there's a structure guiding the response.
Right. Makes everything much more efficient, safer.
I bet. And within that structure, you said communication is key.
Oh, yeah. It's constant. Everyone's sharing information, updating each other on what's happening.
So it's not just about having the right tools and stuff. It's also about making sure everyone knows what's going on.
Absolutely. Say, for example, the EMTs inside the vehicle, they see a possible spinal injury.
Okay.
Well, they got to tell the rescue team that's cutting the roof off the car, right?
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't want them to accidentally make things worse.
Exactly. So everyone has to be in constant communication.
So they can adapt to the changing situation. Wow. It sounds pretty mentally demanding, too.
Oh, it is. You got to be sharp, focused, make decisions under pressure. It's not easy.
I bet. And you mentioned specialized rescue situations earlier.
Those are the ones that go beyond your average car crash.
Right. And they require even more specialized training and equipment.
We talked about trench rescues before, and those always freak me out a bit.
Yeah, they're no joke. Super dangerous because of the instability, you know?
Yeah, those unsupported walls.
It's like a giant sandcastle just waiting to collapse. And remember how much dirt weighs.
100 pounds per cubic foot. Yeah, I don't think I'll forget that anytime soon.
So even a small shift can trap someone with crazy force. And then you have the risk of a secondary collapse, too.
Oh, right, where even more dirt comes down. That could bury the victim and the rescuers.
Exactly. It's a nightmare scenario. So those specialized teams, they have to move slowly, carefully.
So there's no room for error.
Nope. They train for years to learn how to stabilize those trenches, create safe access points.
So they're basically building a structure within the collapse zone.
Pretty much. It's amazing to watch. A real blend of engineering and rescue skills.
So the EMTs wouldn't necessarily be involved in that part.
Well, they might help, but their main role is to provide medical care once the victim is free.
Right, right. Stabilize them, get them ready for transport.
It's a team effort, that's for sure.
And it's not just trench rescues, is it?
Nope. You've got building collapses, swift water rescues, high-angle rope rescues, confined spaces.
Wow. It's like a whole other world of rescue that most people never even think about.
It is, and it's only getting more complex as technology advances.
Which brings us back to those alternative fuel vehicles. What makes them so different?
Well, the biggest thing is the energy source.
The battery.
Yep. Instead of a gas tank, you've got these high-voltage batteries.
And they could be anywhere, right?
Pretty much. A
Yep.
trunk, under the seats, makes things tricky.
And dangerous, I bet. Those things pack a punch.
Yeah, you got to know what you're doing. Disconnecting them is important, but you have to do it right.
I remember you said hybrid batteries can take like 10 minutes to de-energize.
Up to 10, yeah,
Yeah.
because they have a much higher voltage than regular car batteries.
So even after you disconnect them.
There's still a residual charge. Could be dangerous if you're not careful.
So it's a whole new set of procedures to learn.
It is. And that's why training is so crucial in this field. Things are constantly changing. You got to stay on top of it.
It's really amazing when you think about it, all the challenges those rescuers face.
It is. They're true heroes, putting their lives on the line to help others.
I couldn't agree more. Man, it's really incredible how much goes into vehicle extrication.
Yeah, it's a whole lot more than meets the eye, that's for sure.
And with technology changing so fast, I bet it's only going to get more complex.
Oh, absolutely. But even with all the fancy tools and techniques, the human element is still the most important part.
Yeah, that's what really struck me too, going through all this research. It's those rescuers, their skills, their dedication.
It really is a testament to their bravery. I mean, they're putting their lives on the line to help people they don't even know.
Right, and it's not just about being strong or knowing how to use the jaws of life. They have to be able to think clearly under pressure, make quick decisions.
You got to have mental toughness in this job, for sure. And the emotional side of things, too.
Oh yeah, knowing that someone's life is depending on you, that's got to be a lot to carry.
It is. But they handle it with such grace and professionalism. They're true heroes, in my book.
Well said. So I guess the big question for our listener is, why should they care about all this? I mean, most of us will hopefully never be in a situation where we need to be extricated from a car.
True, but I think it's about more than just that specific scenario. It's about appreciating the people who are always there for us, behind the scenes, ready to respond when things go wrong.
Yeah, the unseen heroes who put in all that training so they're prepared for anything.
Exactly. And understanding how complex their work is, how much knowledge and skill goes into it, it's pretty mind-blowing when you really dig into it.
So it's not just about the rescue part, it's about recognizing the whole system that's in place to make those rescues possible.
That's right. And that system is always evolving, always adapting to new challenges, which, speaking of, is something I'd love to leave our listener with to think about.
Okay, what's that?
Well, as technology keeps changing, as vehicles get more and more complex, what do you think the future of extrication looks like?
That's a good one. What new tools will they invent? Will we see, like, robots involved in rescues?
Who knows? It's exciting to think about.
Yeah, and maybe our listener will be inspired to learn even more about this world.
Maybe even join those amazing folks on the front lines.
That would be awesome. But even if you don't become an EMT or a firefighter, just remember those folks the next time you see an ambulance or a fire truck go by.
Take a moment to appreciate their dedication, their skill, their courage.
Because they're out there every day putting themselves in harm's way to keep us safe.
They're true heroes, every single one of them.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, that's it for this deep dive, folks. Thanks for listening.